Hi, welcome to episode 1 of my comic podcast. In this episode, I'm going to talk about why I chose a webcomic based on a massive fanfic 10 years in the making, how I discovered the fanfic, when I began my creative process, and what I've learned in the almost 2 years of working on this project. To start, the first reason why I'm doing this massive project is because it's the ultimate form of fan art, and nothing else could do for such an incredible work of fiction. The second reason is that I'm always replaying the fanfic in my head, and I want to do my imagination justice and create what I can see in my mind and bring it to life to the best of my abilities. Now that I've talked about why I'm doing this, I'm going to talk about when I discovered the fanfic and its impact on my life. I first found the fanfic more than human after I kept seeing fan art being posted by the Tumblr user GabzillaZ on Tumblr. And I recognized the characters and looked into the fanfic. This was around 2018, and boy did it help me out. I was going through a stressful point in my life, and this fanfic was my escape. It helped me through the tough times and kept me sane. I began my creative process in March 2019 by making the storyboard for Chapter 1, which brings me to the third topic of my podcast, what I've learned so far. For starters, I've learned how to make a storyboard pretty well. In the beginning, it took me forever to get Chapter 1 finished. I'd say 3 months. I was making the grid line paper by hand instead of using a copy machine like I do now. I'd say my favorite part of working on the comic is doing storyboards, because you get to use your head to try to figure out how to translate words into images, and that's what's so exciting. I've also gotten much better at quick drawing, so now I can get a chapter done in about a month. It also saves on wrist stamina, so I can use that for doing the final sketches and line art. On the topic of wrist stamina, I learned the hard way not to abuse them. I got cubital tunnel for a while because I was too excited to know when to quit. It sucked. I got better by learning about wrist stretches and forearm massages, which I do daily now, and pacing. So as long as I stay within my quota a day, I can keep working. Webcomics are not a sprint, but a marathon. Which brings me to the next thing I learned the hard way. By having a big enough comic buffer, for some reason I decided that 7 pages a week would be enough, and thus prepared a buffer that I thought would last me several weeks. It did not. When I looked over the fanfic, it had natural story breaks that were not going to fit into the idea of a 7-page-a-week story, so that went out the window. I was left with either the choice of struggling to keep up making a page per day or take a hiatus. So I decided to take a hiatus. After only a month of regular posting, it was frustrating to say the least, but it did give me time to work on my art quality, so there is always a silver lining. This time, I have a much better understanding of how many episodes I have in my buffer pile. I also learned to be more efficient with Clip Studio, making it easier to make pages, boosting my productivity. Trying to get a finished page a day turned out to be wasting my energy. Instead, I split it up into 3 steps. Number 1, do the sketch. 2, line art, which is what the recording is of me doing now. And the third step, tones, and adding the text. Well, that wraps up episode 1 of my comic podcast series. In episode 2, I'll be going over my character designs and monster designs. See you soon!